we go. Hello, Juan Ocampo.
Hi, good morning, Wouter.
How are you today?
Very good, thank you. Greetings from Berlin. How are you?
Yeah, very good. How is it in Berlin? How is the weather right now?
Well, the sun was out a couple of minutes ago, and it comes and goes. I think in the last week it has been very changing. But we had 30 degrees yesterday, so it was almost summer.
Wow, cool. That sounds great. How is it at High Rise Ventures?
So wonderful right now. We're very happy that we closed the last year with 16 different investments, everything in early stage in PropTech here in Germany. And I just saw one of the press releases from one of our first investments 2 years ago, closing a Series A. So it's going really well right now. We're very happy.
No, we're very happy to have you with you today. I think you also have a presentation with you that you would like
Correct.
to share.
And I should have a guest too. Actually, I don't know if you can also get him on stage for us. That would be great. Wonderful. Good
Yes, of
morning,
course.
Hi
Drazen.
guys. Do you hear me well?
We can
Very
hear you.
good.
Hi. Hi from
How's
Vienna.
how's Vienna?
Well, I could actually show it to you. It's very sunny.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, I would like to give you both the stage. Welcome, Drazen, and your 30 minutes. We're just starting, so let's give it a shot. Enjoy.
Thank you for the invitation. Happy to be
Thank you
here.
very much. Thank you. Can you help me out just loading the presentation, Uta? I'm not sure. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today. We're very happy to open today's session on smart and healthy buildings. My name is Juan Ocampo. I'm a principal at High Rise Ventures. We're a small venture capital and company building in Berlin, focused on early stage investments. Anything around smart building technologies and property management is what we do. And today I'm very happy to welcome our guest, Drazen Ivanis. Maybe you want to introduce yourself, Drazen?
We don't have that much time for that. I'm just kidding. So, hi, my name is Drazen. I'm from Vienna and worked at Unibail Rodamco Westfield, that a lot of people I assume know. And this is where I got some experience in facility management and made a decision to start Wowflow. And luckily for me and my team, Juan and his team from Hires Venture are quite a supportive investors.
So thank you. We're very excited because as I said, we are an early stage investor, and mostly I would say 50% of our portfolio was at the beginning very focused on residential spaces, on residential units. And when we came across with Wowflow, we had the wow effect. Definitely, we had the wow effect, and we really liked the team. We really liked what they were doing, and there is definitely a need within the commercial real estate to make certain things that of course faster and more transparent. And from our perspective, we see the customer journey of the owner from commercial real estate spaces in four different, let's say, areas, right? We know that there's a lot of companies increasing sustainability, optimizing energy consumption. There are also some other companies, some other startups integrating new utilization concepts, right? Spaces that are at the moment not occupied. How can you use them efficiently? Of course, avoiding identifying problems, monitoring. The last 2 years, indoor climate parameters have been also really, really important. And the topic of today, right? Smart and healthy buildings and boosting transparency and efficiency. This is why, for me, it made sense to have Wowflow today to talk about it, right? Because we are talking about how do we make it more efficient. I don't know if you can still. There it is. Perfect. So we have a very limited time today, right, Rajan? We could
Yes.
be here for a long time talking about different topics, but we selected three different discussion points that we would like to address today, and maybe if there's maybe try to exchange what are our perceptions about that. So we have three things. One of them being, what is a building that it's healthy and smart? When do you reach those specific states, and whose responsibility is it at the end, right? Maybe also talk a little bit about the efficiency. How do you measure it when you are working remote? Also, the last 2 years, a lot of people have not been on sites, have been working from other places, other areas, and how can you measure that your teams, right, or outside teams are also being efficient? And then maybe just the last one, hopefully we will also have some time to talk about it. How do we increase transparency and efficiency as a facility management? And I was seeing some statistics, maybe you can also Drazen tells us a little bit about it, that there are more facility managers that are, I think, over 60 or 70-year-olds than the facility
True.
managers below 30, right? So maybe let's start a little bit with those statistics, Rajan.
I mean, the statistics are quite an interesting topic because it's pretty much the facility management. You know, the facility management, when you think about it, was a branch that developed itself mainly because of a necessity. Like a lot of people that I know, I also came into the facility management not being not having studied facilities management. I pretty much went to the technical university, typical electrical engineering, worked for a owner of hospitals and worked there on a project management and building management, and then got into the shopping centers and for Unibail Rodamco Westfield and started working as a facility manager. And I think almost everybody that I know that is a facility manager didn't become by studies facility manager. They pretty much developed as one. Of course, now it's getting more popular, I would say, in a case where people can study and take this study in a way, but it's still I would still say that it's mainly the contributors in facility management are the people who let's say go into the, as reinrutschen in German, as they say, go into the task. But yes, so when we take on the landscape of the people, is most, and I don't have the exact numbers at the moment in my head, but the most of facility managers are at the age where you could also see the young ones, like not just facility, but when it comes to facility management, we also have to include the service companies working in the facilities because they are the one who carry out the work. And just today, I had, for example, a call with a young guy who just took over the cleaning and service company from their parents, and now he's like I would say 28-year-old, and he's pretty much taking it over and looking for digitalization, looking for a way how to make things smoother and more automatized, and not doing it in an old-fashioned way where where the technology is also there and pushing forward.
I really like that you mentioned. We are talking about smart and healthy buildings, right? That is, of course, the main topic here. But you mentioned something about the people being very important, and I agree completely on that. And I would like maybe to deep dive a little bit on that, right? The people, and then the second point is you also mentioned the word automation, right? Making everything
Yes.
a little bit everything that's a routine, automate those kind of processes that are sometimes even boring. Sometimes if you don't pay enough attention, there's room for errors and there's room for mistakes. Maybe going a little bit in that direction, right? And going to the first question, what is a building that's healthy from your perspective and that's smart? We all know Internet of Things. I'm a very big fan of it, right? I even was the managing director of one Internet of Things startup a couple of years ago, and I love sensors. But why are sensors not the ultimate solution for smart building from your perspective, Rajan?
I mean, there is IoT in every step. And when we talk about smart buildings and healthy buildings, well, the question is the same definition. What does one mean by healthy and what does one mean by smart? My perception of things is yes, the buildings, for example, one of the projects that we had, and as I was a facility manager, was what we did was we substituted around 5,000 lights that were the old T8 lamps, and we substituted them with a lamp that is run by LED. And the return on investment was actually, I would say, in the first 6 months, because that's
Wow.
and the warranty was 5 years on these lamps. So literally, we had an amazing deal there. So this is also a great thing too. But yes, this is the technology. But unfortunately, I have to say, we all forget about people And this is kind of my life's mission in a way, and my team's life mission, to improve this one, because there are no sensors like being here direct when it comes to people. Because if you are not having an optimized cleaning routine, if you are pretty much repairing the machines or the assets that are breaking down a lot, and you don't have the statistics and information about how often is machine being broken and what reason, because the people who are doing it are just not having the tools to document it properly, clear, then you pretty much lose all this operational insight, where actually the most money goes, right? Of course, the scope of costs for the building is utilities, meaning energy, gas, waste, and stuff like this, clear. But we also have the cost of people working there, which are quite substantial costs, and of course of the all of the things that its people has to actually do. So healthy building, I mean, in the end, it's all about sustainability. So the building that I was working on was the first part was built in 1974,
Wow.
and it was the first building that was able to achieve BREEAM in use outstanding in it was not in DACH region, because there was a company in Germany who did it, but it was first in Austria and in Switzerland, I would say, at the moment when I was a facility manager. So you can do a lot with a building that is set up for sustainability, where you can upgrade, let's say it like this. When it comes to smart, there are two ways of thinking smart. One way of thinking smart would be all the IoT, meaning the things where you could use the natural cooling, the nights, the cooler nights where you open the windows and then you have natural cooling instead of using energy to cool. But also using the operational insights of the people who are working there every day, where they can proactively also mention the things that they notice that can also be improved. Because let's face it, if we are not ourselves on the site as managers, well, we should enable our people who are on the site to communicate how they see the things can even run more efficient.
Drazen, and what happens when, and I agree completely with you on that, right? It is about people, it is about tools. I also like that you mentioned tools, and this is part of the challenge. But what happens when it's not just your team that you're managing, right? Your own team within your company, but you're also working with external service providers, right? And there's also a communication barrier there. What can you tell us maybe a little bit about working with external companies?
Well, external companies, especially today, where everything is being more and more outsourced, because it's the company policy to outsource things, because you want to give the job to the professionals, for example, instead of having 40 people on a big shopping center or on a big real estate site, where you have to do all the administrative stuff just to hold these 40 people, right, and teach them daily and improve them and everything. You give it to a special company, but this company, the outsourced company, is an integral part, because integral part of an operation, because this company is coming every day to your building with 40 people workforce, is an example, to help you on the operations. And mainly, if something goes wrong or if something isn't okay on the site, they are the ones who are going to first be to notice, and they are the ones who should and will report you on what to do and how to proceed, right? When there is a fire, when there is some type of a issue, they are the ones on the watch first, that actually are the first line of information that follows up to you. And collaboration is an extremely important thing, because let's take again cleaning as an example. It's very tough to document, right? If you don't document it properly, if someone does a perfect job, but that the person turns around and a kid spills something, or something kind of happens, and you as a manager come in at that exact moment, you have a feeling these people are doing nothing, where just like someone was there half an hour ago trying to make the best thing possible, right? So collaboration and communication in this, and then documentation in the end, is an essential part if you want to see how your building is run. And due diligence is, for example, also a very important thing. We all know that, let's say, office buildings are being sold in a ratio of every 10 years. And if you don't have any operational footprint of how much energy was invested to operate this office building, Well, when you sell it, it's not going to be easy to argument, okay, where did this money go in the daily operation to make this building or asset popular? And this where if you have this on your whatever tool, then you can easily communicate it, show it, and also the people are happier because suddenly they can communicate what they did.
So, I hear what you're saying, and when you're talking about collaboration, and maybe you're talking also about maybe integrating processes with your service providers, and that they understand what are your needs and everything, and documentation, and most of these processes in the last, I would say, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And maybe from the beginning of time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything was very manual. Everything was very right, and we're coming to a digital age. What are the challenges right now that facility managers are facing when it comes to, I want to be healthy and I want to be having smart and healthy business or buildings? I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, they face a lot of challenges. Investing in a smart and healthy building is always the play with the return on investment, because when you are buying some new machineries that I don't know, is not inexpensive. It goes from 100K to a few million, depending on what it is. Of course, the return. I can remember that there was a heating machine that was, in our case, being able to run from 0 to 100. There is no in between, and then we changed it with a few small ones that were able to run between in 10% away. So we in hybrid, meaning that suddenly you could regulate it at the point where you need, because even in summertime you might need some heating, even in wintertime you might need some cooling. You always need it, and you cannot run with full resources. And of course, there is always the fight with budget and who is going to approve the budget, where the budget is going to be invested on one side, but also it's about behavior as well, right? You can have the best building, the smartest building with the latest innovation, but if people are not separating the trash properly, if the thing is a mess in a way, well, it's not, the culture is not going to communicate that what you actually stand for. And this is where the onboardings, the communication, like said, is very, very important, where then pretty much the people can communicate it. And also one thing that facility managers, I would also say, fight with is the ability to easily communicate. And because we are the digitalization of facility management is a digitalization of something that is actually a little bit behind, I would say. And
Mhm.
people are, especially the workforce there is, I don't know, in Germany and Austria, I don't know, in all Europe has mainly is with migration background, with some language issues, and then they are kind of afraid, okay, is this thing that I'm using to report my work tracking me, and does it know if I go here and there? Also feeling them, making them feel safe, but also making them understand that this is what they're doing, so that they can, in order to improve not just the way they're working and what they are doing, but the whole operation of their teams and communication. And the challenge is also that, unfortunately, a lot of tools that I witnessed, and the reason why I made Wowflow happen, was a lot of tools were from bottom down. Here is a big thing, you go. But it's the workforce that reports the work. And if you are not able to see how the workforce is working, that you will not having nothing to measure. If you have nothing to measure, well, as a manager, guess what? You don't have nothing to manage. And this is where this is important, is to really, really to be your customer. If you are a service provider, software provider, is the end user, is the person on site who will report their work. Because if they have no issues and actually accept your tool and trust in your tool, well, then the management is going to be even more happier, because suddenly now they have all so-called technical working data that they can work with, analyze, understand, and improve.
And how is it right now that and I agree, right? What you can measure, you can manage, and you can improve. And how can a facility manager right now measure efficiency when we are having always new processes, new tools, new technologies? What's happening right now in that particular area?
I mean, it really depends of what is yeah, like I said, you can have the best tools, and there is a lot of good tools, but it's the main point is the usage. How well is it being accepted by the people you work with, and how easy is it going to be to used? Um, And that's the main and that's the if just let's say you have a workforce of 100 people, but just only the technicians who are doing special measurements, let's say 20 people, are able to work with it because it's very complex and it needs to onboarding and all of these things. Well, you're losing information. Could you repeat the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Yeah, what kind of challenges right now are present when you want to measure efficiency? And maybe going down a little bit on that question is, you talk about culture, and I agree, culture is a very big aspect, but also I think you talk about complexity of the tools, right? Complexity of everything that you have. Is that maybe a challenge right now with the current available tools outside? Would that be what's your opinion on that?
Well, one of the main things how you measure efficiency is the so-called service level agreements, right? If it's a cleaning, then you have this reaction time. If it's maintenance or urgency, you have this and that reaction time. Okay, but then how is it being done? We all know that if you want to do something fast, most of people tend to take their phone in hands, call someone, or send a message, or send a WhatsApp, or send an email, or something like this. How do you measure then the service level agreement in that case? How do you evaluate emails? How do you evaluate Excel sheets? How do you evaluate, even if it's an Excel sheet, of course, and how do you evaluate all of these things? And if you are integrated in a way where you can easily communicate, where, as we talk about automation, where everything is on the go, meaning, I don't know, I'm in this type of building, or I'm in this type, a certain part of building, and these people are in charge. And suddenly, if something happens, any movement happens there, they are notified. And as they are notified, the one that is not takes over the responsibility, delegates it further, and that goes into the automatic workflow. Document as you work, meaning document as you go. So there is no even thinking of, okay, all the pictures that I created, all the reports that I created, now I have to sit down and write a report, as we all know. But actually, no, I don't need to do anything. I just reported that this was done. I made a small description, for example, and all the surrounding is supporting me in automation, so that the reports are being automatically created, documentation or whatever. And this makes it easier, much, much easier. And this makes it also easier to measure the efficiency. Why do we have such a slow reaction times in this building part, or these types of buildings versus these types of buildings? And this doesn't have to be people based, it's work based, it's category based, it's and then you can always break it down even deeper and see this. But like we mentioned before, if you do not have the information, you will not be able to measure. And from my experience, there is really a lot of great tools out there, of course, big ones. But the most that I got to know were made out of the point of administration. You put in the building rooms, you just administrate your big building, and you can make great plans, and you can make great details, and you can see every pipe of the building. But what about maintenance information? What about the dynamics of the work in the building? Well, that for me, they need a mobile app, but for this, a mobile app needs to be mobile friendly, user friendly. But then we're talking about more of the workflows than automation. And this is the point I hope that I was able to clarify.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you're also maybe going into a very specific problem that I see happens with a lot of prop techs, right? The decision makers of whatever solution that will be tested sometimes are not really the people that are using those solutions, and that they will benefit at the end from those solutions. And I think that's a very important topic, that the complexity of the solutions that we use, right? In managing a building, in having a building that's healthy, that's smart. Sometimes they need to be more focused on whoever is going to use them, and not really from the management perspective. That really happens a lot.
One thing that I can easily add to this, if you know asset managers, the operational asset managers who are in charge of an asset, they are not just in charge of the building in operations, but they're also charged in the building of leasing and all of these things, right? They really are managing the asset. But most of them, if you ask them, do you understand your facility management? They will tell you, yes, there is a budget line of facility management, and that's what they say they need to make it maintain the building, and that's it. But what if, because of all of the gathering of the workflows on site, suddenly you are able to make a summary executive report to the asset managers where they actually understand that, this much money goes on this much incidents and these things, and suddenly the incidents that were always disregarded now will be understood by an asset manager that will go to the portfolio manager, the owner, for example, and say, look, we are losing 10% of our operational budget on these incidents. Let's make a construction, or let's refurbish this part or do something like this, because actually then we will lower this cost. But like I said before, and this comes mainly because it's in 90% of the times that I know, the asset manager, when it comes to reporting of a building operations, will get an Excel sheet, and in Excel sheet will stay HVAC system, cleaning, all of these points inside, and good luck with evaluating the efficiency of these operations in your building. And this is where it has to go. Our clear status is it has to go bottom up, because the people report. When you can report, you can analyze, and then you can document as well, and then make it in an executive summary where people actually understand what's going on and improve it, of course.
Interesting perspective. Can you tell us maybe a little bit about Wowflow, and maybe what are the target customers right now?
I mean, our target customers for a moment are facility management teams and service companies, cleaning and maintenance. Wowflow is I would say, a lot of customers who are not that close to digital tools. They say, okay, what's the difference between your application and WhatsApp? Which is for us, I would say, quite. I always take it positive, because actually that means that we are willing compared on a simplicity level with something that everybody can use, and this is where we actually want to be. And pretty much like mentioned, this is a tool where a lot of people with no knowledge, with different languages, can go into their buildings, log in, log out, meaning see if they're there, if they're not there, how long were they there, document their work, and all the bottlenecks managers are pretty much having the information come to them as they need it. So the main two value propositions is that administration time goes down by 50%, and
Wow.
quality insurance goes up to 20 to 30%, because you having view on what's happening in your operations, you are not blind, and you can have a pinpoint the quality insurance, and of course all of this documentation suddenly is available also for your customers if you want to send it to them, and then they also see what was actually done and what is actually going on. Because let's say it like this: in a facility management, if you know me, I'm not doing a good job, because a facility manager is a person that no one should know, and no one should be aware of, because if I do my job well, you never heard about me, you never knew me.
Wonderful. That's also a very interesting perspective about facility management. And I think, and I would maybe just like to give my 2 cents on the simplicity. And I remember talking to Drazen a couple of years ago when we met, and when we talk about also how important is the simplicity in products. Not because products need or should be simple because they cannot have any kind of complexity, but because sometimes the people that use those products are not as friendly users of different technologies, right? And I think that's an interesting point, that every product developer should always strive for simplicity, that is very clear, that is very intuitive what you are doing, and that also makes always room for improvements in the day-to-day work. And that's actually a really good. I would also say that's also really good when you're compared to WhatsApp. Drazen, that's great. I think at the same time it's a scary comparison, but a very good one, I would say.
It is a scary
From my
comparison.
perspective.
That's true. But if you have to dive deep and say what do you mean by WhatsApp, but when someone said, "Yeah, I can click here, I can see what's happening, and I said, "Okay, thank you, Ed. Thanks a lot," because that means a lot. Because even my parents, who really hate digital tools and phones, they are master users of WhatsApp, and that means that, and we have a lot of cases where by the onboarding we are pretty much up to 90% not onboarding the service personnel. So we onboard management, and then management assigns the tickets, and after the one or two test tickets where the users are kind of testing what they need to do, they already know. And it's also really hope that it makes fun for them as well, because suddenly there is a tool that serves them and not that they have to use because they have to serve the system.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Drazen, for the answers to the questions this morning. Thank you for participating here. Maybe I would just like to conclude this discussion of today, if I can change, and it's visible right now, the PowerPoint presentation. Maybe just talk a little bit about High-Rise Ventures. As I said, we are an early stage PropTech investor based in Berlin. Our focus is property management in different asset classes. As I said, maybe our very first and very first 5, I would say, investments, they were during or in the residential space, but slowly we start to identify some other solutions that also target different spaces, such as the office space and also some other commercial real estate assets. Right now, we closed 2021 with 16 different PropTechs. Most of them, 80% of them in Germany, right? We have a very good innovation hub in Berlin. Some of them in Berlin, some of them in the south of Germany. And with Wowflow, we went for our very first time outside of Germany to Vienna, where we also are seeing a lot of innovation, really interesting things happening in PropTech. And as I said, 16 investments by the end of 2021. And we are also looking for more innovation within the property management and smart building technology. So if there's any particular point or any particular company that you would like to introduce us, please reach out to us, and we will be happy to discuss any potential cooperation. At this point, again, I would like to thank Drazen for his participation, for being here with me and talk a little bit about facility management. And I will also like to thank Wouter and the whole team. Krista, thank you very much for organizing this event today.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you both. Well, I have a question, if I'm allowed to. Just one question for both of you, because Drazen, I have one question to you. I looked into your website, and I think it's really amazing what you do, because you said it's really easy to implement. It's like 5 hours. How come?
I can give you an example. I can give you, well, it has to be like, it's a lot of, and you know it yourself, all of us are mainly learn as you go, right? We all learn. Who of us is actually, reading the manual before using a thing? No one, right?
No one.
No one. Do you, when you get a new phone, do you read the manual before you start it? No, you don't. And the same thing with the software. So just an example of a shopping center, where one of the assets here in Vienna with 22 technicians, we did the first level of implementation in 2 hours. And then after 2 weeks, we had a runner-up on 1 hour. And after 3 hours, there were already people using ticket and documenting them, because it's all pushed in a way where, I assigned you a ticket, suddenly comes a pop-up with accept with big button. And you cannot miss it, right?
Wow, very cool. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. And then Juan, we are also working for IMAR on a big challenge on sustainability in buildings and construction methodologies. Would be great to have you also as a partner with us. So if you're okay with it, I will send you later today some information about what we're doing for the Dubai, really big developer down there.
Wonderful. Happy to hear more about it.
Cool. Well, thank you very much, both, and enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Sunny day. You too. Have a great
day. Exactly. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Okay, and now we go over to